how in today's changing climate, what is the regulation environment like for the business and banking and private sector?
Regulation. Okay, it's all about regulation. They have tripled the amount of people that they hire to deal with their compliance issues and regulatory issues. It started, I think, heavily with FATCA when that was passed in 2013, and it didn't become, it was passed in 2010, but it didn't become effective until 2014. And you have 99 countries who signed intergovernmental agreements with the United States government, and you have 14 who signed IGA 2, intergovernmental 2 version, agreements with the U.S. government. And the IGA 1 countries, okay, like England, that's an IGA 1A country. The U.S. government, all the banks in financial institutions in England pass over information, account number, name, address, and details of their American clients living in England, okay, just the American ones. They give that information to the U.S. government, okay? But first of all, the banks give it to the UK Inland Revenue, and then the Inland Revenue passes that information through the UK government to the U.S., okay? IGA 2 countries like Switzerland, all of the banks, the IGA, the intergovernmental agreement was signed between the United States and Switzerland. Now, all the Swiss banks, instead of giving their information to the Swiss tax authorities, they give it direct to the U.S. government. And the information that they give is the name and address, account number, value of the account, and income on the account for all Americans who hold accounts in who hold accounts in Switzerland. Okay, not just dollar accounts, but total, whatever currency they're in, it doesn't make any difference. It's the value of the accounts. So you have the IGA 1 countries and you have the IGA 2 countries. Now then the OECD comes up with something called CRS, Common Reporting Standards. And they say, FATCA is a very good idea. Now let's see if we can't get all of the countries all around the world exchanging information. So we want Germany to give information to England, England to give information to Germany. We want, etc. Everybody's given information all over the place. And who's gathering this information? It's the banks. Okay? They're giving this information to the governments in order to exchange this information with various governments. So this is a new world order, and this is something that is happening now as we speak. There are 45 countries, I believe, that signed and are effective in 2017, the CRS agreements, and there are another 50 countries that have signed agreements, CRS agreements, which are effective next year. Switzerland's effective next year. England is effective this year. So it's interesting, but you look at the way business is done, and it is the entire collection process and defining who owes what to whom is falling down to the banks. It's incredible, the information that is being exchanged between governments.
And this is all, I'm guessing, in a really big push for transparency after what we learned in 2008.
Right.
How is finance and the banks dealing with this burden of added transparency?
Well, let's put it this way. I think it's eaten into their profits because they've got a lot more overhead than they've ever had before. And so they've streamlined. I would say, I think they're doing a good job. I live in Switzerland, and I've been through, the way business was done 8 years ago is totally different than the way business is done today. Okay, it's very difficult to open up a bank account. They require a lot more information, and because they've paid huge fines to the U.S. government, there's a lot of 99 different banks have signed agreements, non-prosecution agreements, so that the U.S. would not prosecute them for assisting Americans to hide money. And so through that, they've learned their lesson, and they're not interested in hiding anybody's money from any country. And the biggest issue now becomes, what is the U.S. doing? Because the U.S. is a very big black hole and has always been easy to hide money in the United States. And there's a governing body called FinCEN. It's the Financial Investment Crimes Unit. Okay? FinCEN makes the laws that the banks have to adhere to. Okay? They don't have to go to Congress to have it voted on. Okay? So it doesn't matter what they say. FinCEN has the legal authority to pass these rules and this legislation for banks and financial institutions in the United States to adhere to. And so they are implementing legislation that is shutting down those black holes, that is saying, okay, no, sorry, you can no longer open bank accounts. This is the information we want to have for all bank accounts. And it's the same information that you're requiring here in Switzerland. It's your name, your address, where are you a tax resident? I want to see a copy of your passport. I want proof. Okay, but then it's not just the individual. It's easy to do for an individual, warm body, okay? It's much more difficult when you're talking about an entity, a corporate entity or a trust. Okay, and the trust is the most difficult, okay? Because a trust for tax law is an entity. For other legislation, it's purely an arrangement. It's an agreement. Okay, so you have to define, okay, what are we talking about here? Are we talking tax? Are we talking legal issues? So it's, the U.S. is working on it, okay? Are they there 100%? No, they're not there 100%. But that is one environment I would not want to hide money in if I was a foreign national. Because, first of all, there's something called the Mail and Wire Fraud Act. Okay, and this has been in existence for at least 40 years, okay? And give you an example. A Canadian who was importing goods from the United States into Canada without paying Canadian VAT. So if you buy a bottle of alcohol for $15 in the United States, they were selling it for $50 in Canada. So yeah, and most of that was tax. Okay, so if you took it in illegally, you didn't have to pay the VAT, and you could sell it for cheaper and make lots of money, et cetera, right? That person was put in jail in the United States. Okay, in the United States, under the Wire Fraud Act. He didn't break any U.S. laws, but he broke foreign laws. But he used the U.S. mailing and electronic telecommunication systems in order to perpetrate the crime. Bingo, that's all they need. U.S. government took him to court. Won. He's in jail, right? Canada could not prosecute that guy, but the U.S. can prosecute that guy. So you don't mess with, hiding assets in the United States. You just you don't go there. Can you do it? At this point in time, yes. In 6 months from now, probably not. So it's a really short-term potential, and it's got some serious consequences.